Now for the track guide. Guys, before starting, if you want to get better with this car, with a Porsche Cup car, I have released a course on my website. It's a Porsche Cup course. Link will be in the video description. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1, super important to open up as much as you can, and as you can notice here, where my mouse pointer is, the track opens up a tiny bit. There's a kink in the wall. You want to place your car at that position, and the moment that you arrive at it, you should be applying the brakes. You're gonna brake slightly before the road opens up, but then while you're doing your initial part of the braking, you must be almost brushing the wall. Super important to get close. You'll be in 5th gear, downshifting to 4th, and now all you have to do is just hold the brakes up until you get to the wall on the inside. So still holding, still braking, still braking, still braking, still braking, still braking. See, it's a long trail braking. Still on the brake, still braking. Now you start to see this orange cone in the wall. When you get close to it and you start to cross over this yellow line, then you should be applying the throttle. But up until here, you should stay on the brakes. Don't be earlier than this on the throttle, because then you will modulate your throttle input. What I mean by this, look at our outcome. So we're getting really close. This is our apex point. We're apexing around this cone on the wall. And look at our throttle input. It stays always up. We arrived at 100%. We don't go up and down with your throttle input, and that's exactly what you should be doing too. So if you're gonna be too early on the gas, you will do a lot of modulations. Also notice that the brake shape is quite soft. We don't want to brake too much because it's important to carry the speed. We have a lot of track to use that speed, so that's why it's not really needed to brake very hard. You will use this curb on your way out. Now repositioning for this corner, super important to brake while you are parallel with the white line like this. You want to minimize the steering input. If you can make it even smaller than this, you will gain more grip. Now in terms of the reference for braking, beginning of the cone will be the place that you want to brake. So this number 3 cones, slightly before them, you're preparing the brake, you're braking at those. Braking a straight line, going to 3rd gear, 2nd gear near the apex. Super important to not hit this curb very hard. Just brush it around it, because then it will push you more towards the outside. So ideally on our way out, we don't want to hit this curb, the blue and white. We want to cut it at this point, but we don't want to cut it on the exit out of the previous corner, because then we won't have enough radius to take this one flat like this, and you will have to do like a small throttle drop. That's gonna be fine. You're preparing now for the next corner. Very important to not relax your hands around here, because you need to put your right tires into the curb here, the white and blue. The moment that you don't see that curb anymore, that's the moment that you're gonna brake and turn at the same time in 3rd gear, and then when you get very close to brushing this curb, you're gonna push the throttle. Super important, don't go on top of this curb. It's really bad. If you hit this curb, the car will bounce forward, and then you will arrive more towards the right side. You'll have to drop the throttle because this leads to a huge straight. Super important to hold the throttle at a steady rate, so you see less modulation. So what's important about this corner, because this is probably one of the most important corners of the track since it leads to a big straight, stay on the brakes up until the car rotates. Don't drop the brakes quickly. So look at our brake shape. Braking around 16%, still holding, still trailing, still trailing, and then pushing the throttle. So it's a gentle throttle application, but we held it for longer, and then going on the throttle, getting very close to 100%, and now we're heading towards the hairpin. Reference for braking will be before these cones, the 4 cones. So slightly before it, you're gonna be applying the brakes, brake in a straight line. Super important to turn late into this corner. You don't want to turn early, so notice that we're still parallel with the white line, still on the white line, still on the white line, still on the white line, and in the middle of this blue curve, that's when we commit to the turn. The reason why this is important is because we need to maximize the efficiency under straight line braking, and if you brake and turn at the same time, you'll be less efficient. It's better to apex later, stay on the straight line braking for more time, Then turn very late in first gear. Notice also this threshold braking. We hold a constant pressure. We don't go up and down. We don't drop it because we need to extract everything out of that straight line braking window. So in first gear, make sure you're cutting this blue and white curb a lot because you can get away with. Make sure you're cutting here a lot. You can also put your tires on this dirty part of the curb. It's still not going to be an off track. And now we're heading towards the next corner. This will be all flat out, same for the left-hander. Make sure you're keeping a tight line though, because here on your way out, on your exit, you want to be very close to the white line. You don't want to be in the center of the track. It's going to make the braking a bit more uncomfortable. Once again, the reference for braking will be number 4 cones. Before it, you're going to be applying the brakes. Braking a straight line, it's going to be more or less the same thing. Late turn in for this one as well. You don't really want to push the curb on the inside. You want to have a clean getaway and use a tiny bit of curb on the outside. It's going to be fine if you use just a tiny bit, but don't go all the way to the sand because the next one will be uncomfortable. And for the next one, we're going to cut it like this, super important, in third gear, going to fourth, keeping a tight line. Now for the next corner, you want to go diagonally towards the braking zone. You want to shorten the distance traveled. So instead of going towards all the way to the left and travel a longer distance going around the corner, we're gonna apex around this point in this corner. And then when we go on the braking, look, we're braking and we're going diagonally. It's better, it's gonna save you like 0.05, half a tenth, if you do it like this. Reference for braking will be just in the center of the track before number 3 cones. You will try to align yourself so that you put your left tires on these blue and white curbs, super important. And in the middle of the curb, once again, we turn. In third gear, you can use a tiny bit this curb, but don't use it too much, so barely kissing it, because once again, it will push your car wide. Use all the curb here, you can even pinch a bit of the gravel and it's not going to be an off track. And now we're heading towards the final sector of the track. This one's going to be flat out, cut it like this, cut it the next one too. Look how much steering wheel angle we're using. It's quite a lot for this corner, but this gives us this exit. Look, parallel to the white line, almost on the white line with our left tires. And reference for braking here will be the moment that you put the car straight before the cones. You'll brake before number 3 cone, better to brake early and position the car nicely. In third gear, make sure you're cutting this curb and don't cut it to the concrete. You have to put your right tires on this curb but not on the other side of the curb because the car will be unbalanced. So use this curb to put your right tires, don't go all the way to the concrete. Push the throttle the moment that you hit the curb. You won't have time to stay at 100% too much, so you just stay a tiny bit, and then when you get to this part of the curb, you're gonna drop the throttle. It's not a brake, just a lift. In fourth gear, you're preparing the next corner. The moment the car lands after you're mounting the curb, you're gonna be applying the brakes. In third gear, once again, very long trail braking, but in softer percentages so that you keep the minimum speed up. And then while putting your right tires on the curb, you're gonna smash the throttle like this. You should be using all the tracks, so make sure you're not modulating the throttle around here. Make sure you open up the corner, make sure your trail brake, because look at this brake shape, longer trail brake. So it's really important to set up this corner because it's just such a long straight that you need to take advantage of. And now going into the last part of the track, number 3 cones will be the reference for braking. You'll brake and turn at the same time here. In fifth gear, then in fourth. Your next reference will be this white line. You want to put your tires past the white line, but you don't want to go more than this. Like having the white line maximum in the center of the car, that's gonna be the maximum amount of space that you need to use. If you go wider than this, you'll just travel such a longer distance that you won't be able to take advantage of. This is all about trail braking at this point in time. In third gear, we're just holding the brakes and turning, still braking, still braking, still braking. Our reference for pushing the throttle will be this lower temp, more power banner right here, because when you'll be in your windshield and it starts to disappear, like right now, this is where you should be pushing the throttle. So you have to keep quite a tight line. Notice this braking shape, it's very, very long. And now you're just fully committing, apexing around this first gold line under the bridge, keeping it tight, cutting the gold line once again, and then the car should push really close to the wall. This was a bit too much, a bit scarier. You can leave a bit more of a gap just to make sure, but in short, that's a lap around here. So hope you have a great week. Sebring is a great track, and looking forward to see you in the next one. Once again, if you're interested to get better, check out my courses. Bye bye.